Imagine a scene right out of the movies. I love this scene. Burt Reynolds is unhappy, disillusioned with his life, and is attempting to commit suicide multiple times. Ends up in a psychiatric ward. In the psychiatric ward, he's joined by fellow actor Dom DeLuise, who's already a patient. And they're planning their escape because Burt is still determined that he's going to end his life. Well, they finally get to escape and they drive to the ocean, and Bert swims way into the ocean and begins to drown himself. And then his life starts to go through his mind, and he changes his mind basically and swims up and is going back to shore. And as he's swimming back, he's bargaining with God. God, get me back to shore, and I'll give you everything that I own. And as he gets a little closer, God, get me back to shore and I'll give you 75% of what I own. And as he gets closer and closer, the amounts get smaller and smaller till he reaches the shore and is exhausted, and obviously is not going to give anything back. But the funny part is Dom DeLuise sees him and goes, what is he doing? And he's got a gun and he starts to shoot at Burt Reynolds, who's exhausted, and is yelling at him, stop, I don't want to die. And then you see this funny running scene, and finally Bert catches up to Dom DeLuise and tackles him to the ground and is taking the gun from him and says to him, wait for it, tell me you understand. I'm not going to tell you the rest of this scene. If you haven't seen this movie, it's pretty funny. It's called The End with Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise. But the whole month, I've been interviewing people about understanding. And the most wonderful part is the individuals did not know what I was going to ask them. They were very courageous, very courteous to answer this question. And you can hear all their answers at the end of this. For me, understanding is one of those incredible, powerful skills that we can learn, we can grow, and we can become so much better at. From our own perspective, understanding is a way of learning, of becoming a lot more aware of who you are, how you do things, how things come about. That takes a lot of skill in understanding that. But in this case, we're talking about understanding from a perspective of understanding other individuals. And really, the skill of listening becomes crucial in understanding. The skill of being observant, being present, being mindful, to really see the person where they are, with what thinking they have, and what are they saying, so that you can comprehend it, so you can get it. Not for you to put the impressions or any of your thoughts on them, but to really hear and see them. That's a skill that is learned and is very, very crucial for our growth, for us to become much better versions of a human being, so that we can be a lot more aware of each other. And because our world is so big and so small and so diverse at the same time, understanding becomes crucial in allowing us to continue to become better at valuing each other, at genuinely seeing the other human being. So that is an incredible skill that if you can hone in on, you will build a superpower where people will go, oh, they see me, they hear me. And that's what a lot of the world is crying for, is for people to be seen, to be heard as who they are, where they are in their own journey. Not where we would like them to be, but where they are, and allowing them to grow at their own pace. Join me for listening to the rest of these incredible interviews, and thank you for being here. But take the time and really value in your own life, where are your own understanding skills? Where are your own ways of seeing the individuals that you interact with on a daily basis? And I'm going to throw this in there, even on social media. How do you see the other people? And when you make a comment, do you really understand them before you throw out your comments? Let's get better at who we are. Go ahead and listen to the rest of this. Thank you.
Some would say understanding is a mental exercise. It's getting clarity through our thoughts. I think today I would say understanding is inner knowing through our intuition, through an alignment with the divine, with our God, or whoever we choose to believe is there for us. It's an inner knowing. It's intuition. Understanding is not a mental exercise. It's an alignment with our soul.
It's understanding to me is like the first draft of a book. The purpose of the first draft is not to get it right. It's to get it written. And then we perfect our understanding.
I feel like understanding is for me want to listen, to just be there and listen, and to know where they're coming from, where the other person is coming from, and knowing what they want from you, or if we don't know, asking what that is. If they just want to be heard, if they want a resolution, an answer, which I usually jump into most of the time. But no, some people just want to be heard. Or if they want a hug or whatever they want, just knowing what they want. If I don't know, ask them, and just know where they're coming from. Being empathetic is what I think understanding is.
Having sympathy for the other person and where they're coming from. Also appreciating their background, because that takes a lot to understand someone, to know where they're coming from, their experiences. It includes having empathy. And understanding doesn't necessarily mean accepting. You don't have to accept someone's other point of view or understand. You don't have to accept their stance, but you have to understand where they're coming from.
Understanding is putting someone else's thoughts into perspective. It could also be taking your time to think about processing information, really taking information in and thinking about it.
Is understanding. Personally, I think understanding is having a heart of acceptance. I think when you're understanding, you have a great sense of empathy and you can really put yourself in that person's shoes, even if something is, outwardly offensive or maybe a little bit confusing or hurtful. I think when you're understanding, you don't judge. You come from a place of, okay, let me try to see why this person is acting this way or why this is happening. So I think to be understanding, you have to possess a lot of qualities that are innately kind and empathetic. So I would say if you're understanding, you never jump to judge and you always try to see why someone's coming from that place.
Essential. We must be aligned. It's not we must be aligned. Life is a lot easier when we're aligned and when we have understanding and inner knowing.
I think it's all encompassing. You know, because not every individual will see who you are, because your light is too blinding. It'd be too hard for them to contain. They'd rather you were a small light bulb when you're meant to be an entire flame. So those who understand who you are will be attracted to you. Those that don't, we cannot waste our time on.
Very, very important, because it's one to just be there, present, and one to just hear, but you want to know, what they want from you. So I feel like it's very important, and without that, you're gonna either meet them halfway or just be half there, and not be understanding. And if you want that whole word of being not just present but understanding, just learn from them and ask them what it is they want. So it's very important to just go the complete circle.
Oh, extremely. It builds relationships. It builds kindness. It builds, every kind of relationship you have to have understanding in. Otherwise, you're always going to be in conflict with one another.
Oh, understanding is extremely important. If you don't understand something, you can, I don't know, it could be in any perspective. You can take something the wrong way if you don't understand something, or like in my instance, in my field of medicine, if you don't understand something, it can cost like a patient's life. So just really taking in that information is important.
I would say understanding is so very important, because in this day and age, there's a lot of things that polarize people nowadays, whether that's politics or religion or, just personal beliefs. And so I think to be understanding, you eliminate a lot of those conflicts and you help to unite people, essentially. So it's so important to be understanding, especially in today's age.
Sophia, thank you.